This video shows with a simple example how you can design and implement service-oriented applications using model-based development in objectiF RPM. For the example implementation, we'll be using Node.js, JavaScript, and Visual Studio Code will be our editor. Let's assume that development is initiated by a particular stakeholder requirement. This particular stakeholder wants a new feature. To get started, I'll create a new RESTful service within a directory I've already set up. objectiF RPM makes this easy for me with a pattern. I just need to give the service a new name. For simplicity, I'll name it RESTful Service. I need to specify a folder for the implementation files that will be generated. And finally, I choose the destination for the model element, that is, the block, which is going to represent the new service. Now I'll just drag the new service, that is the block, into my architecture diagram, and I'll connect it with the satisfy relationship to the requirement it's supposed to fulfill. We see now that a reference was automatically created in the requirement. So, let's take a closer look at the block. The satisfy relationship I just added is also cross-referenced here with the requirement. In addition to generating the architecture element, the pattern has also created source code files for the new service in objectiF's repository. With one click on the double arrow, I can bring the code into the workspace and open it with Visual Studio Code. Here we see that the pattern generated a web server in Express, a folder named Operations with a routing routine, and a pre-created operation alive. The package's JSON file already has references to the necessary node modules. Let's see whether the service starts. First, I'll install the node modules corresponding to the JSON file. And now I'll start the service. Let's check in the browser to see whether the service is actually running. Alright, the service is alive. Now, my new service still doesn't have any functionality, so I'm going to create a new operation. The operation needs a name, we'll call it hello, and it also needs an HTTP verb. I'll just stick with get. And finally, the service needs a URL. As soon as I close the form, the operation appears here in the model. Simultaneously, a few other things have happened. The code file for implementing the operation was created, and the operation URL was added to the root file. Okay, so let's implement the operation. In the directory for the operation, I choose the function Open Directory in Visual Studio Code. I'm deciding now to open the entire directory in the workspace. When I do this, I'm asked whether I want to replace the first root file that was created. We know that this was automatically updated with the creation of hello, so I'll just say OK. Alright, now Visual Studio Code opens. I'll implement the operation hello in the generated code framework. Now I'll start the service again, and Check the result in the browser. Great, it's working as it should. To finish things off, I'll give the modified code file back to objectiF RPM. Model-driven development with objectiF RPM makes it easy to understand and navigate service-oriented applications, and this really pays off, not just during early development phases, but also, and especially, for further development and maintenance.